Hey everyone, welcome to the Psychedelic Integration Podcast. I'm Sinclair.
And I'm John.
And we're with Mystical Heart Collective. We help people heal with psychedelics. And man, it has been a minute since we had our last episode. And we are excited this week to share some insights and have a conversation about manifestation and prayer.
Yeah, so we decided to do this because we hear in the self-improvement, self-actualization, self-help, healing communities, we hear these two terms come up a lot. So we wanted to really dive into, explore what they mean, how in some ways they're kind of two poles of the same thing, and how they can work together.
Yeah, manifestation. So manifestation and prayer are probably in your mind, like in my mind previously to my plant medicine experiences, completely unrelated concepts. And first of all, manifestation is kind of, I hate saying that. I'm going to say this anyway, even though I don't like saying it. It's a very woo-woo term. I think as a spiritual practitioner, woo-woo is kind of offensive. But when I say that, you know what I'm talking about. Manifestation is something that people say to explain how they got such badass lives, or generally they're using it to try to sell you something.
Yeah. You hear it a lot you hear it a lot as, I made this happen with the power of my thoughts or my vibration or something like that.
Manifestation mindset.
I made whatever is going on in my life, I made it happen through my power of manifestation, right?
I just walk through my life and magical things come to me all the time because I'm a manifesting queen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of the way that we hear about manifestation in the spiritual self-help community.
So what do we mean by manifestation? Break that down a little bit.
So, let's define it in one way by what we see as what it kind of the common definition is it's kind of magical thinking around creating some kind of material circumstances in your life if you just. So magically creating something or manifesting something that you want if you just change your mindset or buy a certain product or sign up for a certain course or whatever. Or if you just stop having anxiety, depression, and all the other things that are wrong with you that are blocking you from having the thing, continuing to use your mental power to get into the flow and hack your life and be the best you can be, which is generally thin, rich, white, and physically able to do whatever thing.
Yeah, it's like this, the way it's talked about a lot is, if you want these external circumstances to show up in your life, you want a new house, a new car, you want
a partner.
Yeah, exactly, whatever. If you adjust your internal landscape, right? So if we can control the thoughts that we're thinking of, if we can attach positive emotions to what we are wanting to bring into our life, if we can generally control and manage our vibration, and we work on this inside bit, then the outside will rearrange itself to match the inside, and bada bing, bada boom, manifested.
Look at you manifesting, which part of that is there's not all of that is bad,
right?
And so but it's not the whole story, and it really thinking about manifestation as this, I'm creating everything myself. When it doesn't turn out how you hope, it can be really devastating to feel like there's something wrong with you or you're not good enough, and it increases your feelings of anxiety, depression, and things that are if I was just good enough, then I would get this thing.
Yeah, and kind of on the opposite end of the pole of that, of bringing things into our life, we have prayer. And I don't know about everyone, but at least I, as a recovering Catholic, came up kind of believing or being told that the prayer was really the polar opposite of that. And so in manifesting, we have this okay, I'm responsible for all the circumstances in my life, and if I can manage my interior world just so and line everything up in just a way, then the outside will make itself match. And I did that all on my own.
Right.
And the other pole of that is, well, at least with the prayer that I was conditioned to as a Catholic, was no, if you want anything in your life, you pray to the bearded white man in the sky, and the bearded white man will judge your prayers worthy or not, and he will make it happen for you. And you don't have any power over this thing's coming. All your power is to do is to ask this force, please, the source of everything, please, can I have X, Y, Z? So we kind of have these like opposing things when you think about them that way, right? Manifestation being the like, I made everything in my life happen and I'm responsible for every little thing, and it's all by controlling my internal landscape. Mm-hmm. And then the other side is like, I'm actually in control of nothing, and this all-powerful force is the only thing that's bringing stuff into my life.
Can I just tell you guys something personal? That when I was a kid, I used to imagine that God was Mork from Mork and Mindy, like Robin Williams, alien Mork, who he had like a stripy shirt and suspenders, and I would like envision him in the sky granting my prayers or not. Isn't that funny? It's ridiculous. So, as John just said, as a recovering Catholic, as a recovering atheist, who had a really bad experience with religion, prayer has always felt really unaccessible to me. Like, I developed this idea around it being, like John said, like to this figure outside of myself. And as I grew to kind of reject organized religion and Christianity, I didn't really know how prayer fit into any of that, because I didn't have an understanding or a spiritual connection to anything outside of religion. And I went into the other extreme of like, well, if it's not this, I guess there's nothing. And so what would I be praying to if I was praying? And also, you know, I think if you have a negative experience with religion, prayer, just the word prayer can be like, I don't know, like I'm not into that. That's what religious people do. So something that's really powerful, I think, to think about around prayer and manifestation is taking these things back from the extreme poles of what, you know, we may think about what they are, and understanding that prayer is not just belong to religious organizations. It's not just a way to talk to this, you know, abstract being outside of yourself. It's something completely different that does belong to you, that is for you. And the same with manifestation. Manifestation is not a secret club that only certain people have under, you know, they literally call it the secret. Like the secret is one of the ones, like the law of attraction. And we talk about the law of attraction and, like, you know, putting your attention on the things that you want. But today we're going to talk about how you can start to understand and build a relationship with manifestation and prayer as a duo, as like a power duo in your life to help you get what you desire. And not just what you desire, but we'll talk about how these two things work together to create and manifest a life that feels good. And it might not be what you desire, actually. It might be something that you don't even know is good for you.
Right.
So we've talked a little bit about like what, you know, the stereotypical definitions of these two things, or these ideas of these two concepts that we have. So what is our understanding of manifestation? Like, how would you explain it?
Well, I mean, part of what we've already described it as kind of hits the nail on the head for me. It's like when we're moving towards something, when we're calling something into our lives, when we're asking for something, when we're wanting something, part of that is our responsibility to, you know, think positively about it, to have, like, hold a good vibration, to think good thoughts as we move towards that. And then part of it is the prayer. Part of it is, okay, it's really unrealistic to expect to monitor every thought that we have going and still do all the requirements that life has of us, right? Like cooking and cleaning and doing our jobs and interacting with our family. I mean, if you really want to monitor your thoughts all day, that's all you're doing that day. Right, exactly. So the prayer and manifestation, in my mind, talk about like where our responsibility is and where we can kind of let go and turn things over to a power greater than ourselves. So the manifestation is our half of this agreement as we're moving towards something.
I like this. So I have felt with manifestation that it was this thing that I was really interested in, because obviously, like, who doesn't want to make who doesn't want to call in and bring the things that they're seeking toward them?
Well, it's very empowering, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, okay, whatever the circumstances are in your life, we've created those with our internal landscape. Mm-hmm. So since our internal landscape is really the only thing we have control over, then okay, we have control over all of our outside circumstances. And by changing all of this, then we feel empowered to call in and create whatever we want. Mm-hmm. So it's like in some sense it's right. And it's very nice to think like I have the control, the power to create what it is I want in my life.
Yeah, and you can. We do have that power. And part of that power is acknowledging when we are creating negative things in our lives, when we are blocking ourselves from, having experiences that we want, or when what happens most of the time, I think, is we have a narrative that we've invented about something. We've made up a story and we've agreed like this is how this goes. And when things don't go that way, we completely miss the opportunities. It reminds me of this this little, I don't know what it is. It's just a little story about this woman is like drowning. She's like in the ocean. She's been shipwrecked. She's drowned. She's in the ocean. Like, please send help. Like, she's praying to God. Please help me. And this ship comes by and he's like, ma'am, can we help you? And she's like, no, I'm waiting for God to help me. And then a helicopter comes and they're like, ma'am, we want to save you. And she's like, no, I'm waiting for God. God's coming to save me. I don't need you to save me. And then one more time, somebody comes by on another boat and they're like, ma'am, we're going to need to get you out of this water. And she's like, no, God is coming to save me. And then finally she dies and she goes to heaven and she's like, I asked you to help me and save me. You didn't save me. He's like, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter. Like, that's how we miss manifestation trying to help us. Like, that's how we miss. When we are only looking to see things in a certain way, we will miss the opportunities of, oh, that thing is here. It's come to you, but it doesn't look how you thought. And it never will. It never does. And that's sort of that is really the trick. Is it's not just, okay, I'm going to monitor my thoughts. I'm going to, keep my temple protected and keep myself positive. That can start to look like toxic positivity and good vibes only. Like, that kind of idea can be damaging because it doesn't allow for the messiness that is the human condition. It doesn't allow for the forest fire that brings a new forest into your life. And so the idea that there's some special manifestation club that if you're not doing it right, then you can't manifest and you just don't get it and you're not, you're blocking yourself from doing it is... I just want to erase that and be like, manifestation is an empowering thing, and you can become an empowered creator. And part of that is taking responsibility for the ways that you get in your own way, and praying to get out of your own way and be able to see the gifts and the magic that's all around you all the time, and using things like gratitude and all of these other practices where you can really see what you have is exactly what you need in that moment.
Yeah, adjusting our perspective to see, like what you said, how is what I have and how is what is showing up in my life exactly what I need right now? How is this actually, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, how is this actually moving me closer towards the thing I'm trying to manifest? So they work together in this, okay, my responsibility is everything in here, and I'm going to work on that as I try to call forth out of the ether, whatever it is I'm trying to manifest. And then the other half of that is praying and allowing whatever it is that shows up to be connected to that dream, to be connected to that, your path that will bring you closer to what it is you desire. And really, the way plant medicine has really helped me to understand this dynamic in a way that works better for me and feels better for me is that this force that I'm praying to is not outside of myself. I'm intimately connected to the all, the all, God, the creator, the mystery, however you want to say it, is an extension. It's the biggest, most highest self of me possible. And for me, plant medicine's really been the way that I've been able to have a felt experience of that. So I've heard that over and over and over in different circles, in different books, from different people, said in different ways with different language. And on some level, I can agree with that. But it wasn't until I had an experience with plant medicine that I could feel it, and then it became really real. And as I did that, I could start to understand that, okay, well, all of this outside of myself is actually myself too. So as I'm moving towards something, as I'm trying to manifest it, the rest of me, that is not the conscious me, is also moving towards me with that thing. And when I understand that it is me moving towards me with whatever I want, and I can start to trust that process, and I can start to understand that, okay, however this does show up is working for me, is a gift, is helping bring me closer to the goals. And sometimes the conscious me might have a misguided goal, and bigger me, the all, is look, I hear what you're trying to manifest there. You want to manifest XYZ so you can live a more comfortable, fulfilling life. You're going to fuck yourself up here. So let's skirt that completely, and we'll get you away from XYZ, but we'll bring you closer towards the deeper, more fulfilling life that you really want from that to begin with. And trusting that I will deliver that to myself is really how the plants have helped me so much in this process.
So that in itself is such a big deal, shifting from an understanding or a belief system around. So a lot of us are, I don't know if you've ever heard, we've talked about this book a little bit, The Four Agreements, where it talks about we are kind of indoctrinated with these agreements of okay, in this society that we live in now, we all have certain agreements around okay, here's what religion is, and here's how you think about this, and here's how you think about this. And our parents teach us certain things in society. We have a system of belief that we operate under. And something that the plants really do really powerfully is kind of start to pull the threads of that. And it's, because you go into it and you're well, I know this is true. And you take the plants, and the plants are oh, really? Let me just unravel that a little bit for you. And you're oh, this is all just a story that we've, money is a good example. Money is a piece of paper. Money has no inherent value. It's a piece of paper. But as a society, we've decided that this is the system which we exchange time for this money, and this is how much this time and money are worth, and we all agree to that. And if you really look at it, same thing with time. Money and time are really fake. They don't really mean, it's not some universal thing that money and time are the way that we've decided how they are now. So you start to look at these concepts and you're wow, time is fake news. Time isn't really the way that we think about time going in a line is not how time works. It's more like this. So there's all these abstract concepts, right? That we just take as truth. And something that the plants do is ask you to ask yourself, why do you believe this? And where did this come from? And who told you this story? And what is your idea of God? And, something that came for me personally through, as I said, a recovering atheist, I never really thought anything about past lives. I was always nah, whatever. The idea of reincarnation and that a soul is continuing to experience human life and go through incarnations and learn and grow and, what did we say earlier? Be a victim and be a perpetrator of darkness. So sometimes you're receiving pain and sometimes you're giving pain. And that understanding of like our ancestors and how people have healed things over time throughout human evolution, and where, like, how our souls can continue to grow, made so many things make sense for me in my own life, in my current life. And I didn't have any like past life regressions other than like a kind of a knowing that this is not my first rodeo. But just that, okay, so now that's a belief I have, like, that we have multiple life experiences as a consciousness evolving itself to experience everything, so all the souls are doing this over and over until we go all into the light, and then we probably will do it again. I don't know. But that concept was like something I had never had a relationship with before. And I sat with plant medicine, and then it changed. And I opened to like this new understanding and this new narrative. And so now with that narrative as my foundation, things like John was just talking about the way that I think about God is God includes me. I am God. And that tree is God. And that plant is God. And God is not a separate entity from me. God is everything. God is everywhere all the time. God is unfolding as we are moving through time and space. And so just coming to these new realizations so you can have these new understandings around manifestation and prayer are really powerful outcomes of working with psychedelics, I think.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to take a look at the agreements, the stuff we've onboarded as our truth, our belief system, right, because our belief system is kind of like the structure that our like thinking and understanding is built upon, and the way we interpret events, and then the way we interpret those events leads to the way we emotionally respond to them, which in turn leads to how we physically and respond to them and take action in our life. So if we can go down to the base layer of our belief system and structure and take out what isn't serving us and replace it with something that is better for us, that is more serving, then we get to restructure the whole pyramid built on top of it. And I think it's really interesting, like what you were talking about, well, how do you know that's true? And like we were talking about with reincarnation, I've had a similar like shift because of the plants. And as I hear you talking about saying it, I'm asking myself like, well, that also might not be true, right? Who really knows? However, this belief of that serves me, and it serves me better than believing that at the end of this life, we're either sentenced to an eternity of damnation or an eternity of bliss based off of our beliefs and our actions in one lifetime. It makes more sense for me that we come into this life with some understanding and some stuff that we've earned, and that this whole life has more of a meaning than just this physical reality, and we get to take with us all that we've learned and understood and the ways we've learned to see the world into the next life. And for me, that belief has allowed me to like relax and trust the process. So whether it's the absolute truth fact or not, the fact that I believe it allows me to operate more efficiently, more compassionately, more gently in this world and have a better experience and treat people better.
Yeah, it's like an alignment or an attunement, an adjustment to a way of, like I was saying earlier, like, okay, like John said, maybe it's not true. Maybe this is the one life that you have. Even if it's not true, my belief that my soul is here to have like a soul agenda of growing and healing and healing not only myself, but my ancestors, that feels really good to me as a human person in this life, in this moment, in the present. So the better I feel in the present, the better human I am to myself and others. And so people get this from all kinds of things. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with organized religion when it provides that kind of feeling for people. When people have a purpose, when they feel like part of a whole. That experience for me did not feel like that, but that doesn't mean that that's an invalid experience for someone else. Religion, all the religions are included in the God. Like, everyone is right, and everyone I think the thing that can feel difficult about any of this stuff is saying this is the one right way to think about it, because there is no one right way. It's all spokes on a wheel leading to one truth, which is that we're all one. And however you get to that feeling is the right way for you.
Uh-huh.
And manifesting and prayer, so the taking back prayer from places, like if you don't have a prayer practice or a relationship with prayer, what is prayer really? Like,
well, to me, it means talking to the bigger part of myself, the part that's like, well, right now in this body, in this lifetime and everything, like my consciousness is very much confined to this body, this awareness. I'm always looking out from behind these eyes. And like I was saying, I understand that the big me continues on indefinitely throughout this whole universe and beyond what I can even comprehend or understand. So for me, it's talking to that part of myself and really asking and sharing and seeing what comes back. And a big practice that the plants have really helped me develop is to listen for that part. And it would be great if that part of me came in with words in my head and was like, well, I'll do this and do that and do this and that. But it doesn't happen like that. So I've had to develop a spiritual eye to see and spiritual ears to hear the messages when they come in a language without words. And yeah, all of that really starting to build a relationship with that part of myself has also really changed what I've been praying for. Mm-hmm. So I want to manifest something, right? I want a piece of land to take care of, and I want to be able to host ceremonies and have people over and take care of a garden and have a physical place where people can find community and support and love and connection and feel free and safe to explore and heal themselves in a container for that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is manifestation. I want to manifest that. So I was saying, as I've come to understand what prayer is and what I'm praying to, it's changed how I pray. So previously, when I was in all these Catholic agreements, it's right, okay, dear so-and-so in the sky, God, please help bring these things into my life. Adjust my physical world for me. And the message I got at least was well, if your prayer is worthy, and if you are worthy, then the prayer will be answered. And if not, you're a damned sinner. And that's what I got at least. And what I've come to realize is that for me, that's the wrong thing to pray for. The thing to pray for is the same stuff I'm trying to change through manifestation. I'm trying to change my beliefs. I'm trying to change my thoughts. I'm trying to change my emotions. I'm trying to change the way I react to stuff. And so now my prayers have become, okay, help me see this clearly. Help me see what's coming to me as a gift, moving me towards what I want. Help me to be compassionate to myself and to the people in my life. Help me to develop a good word. Help me adjust this inner landscape so that when those things come, I make good use of them. And that's really been a game changer for me, because it changes how I see what's coming at me. What shows up in my life is no longer, oh no, this is in the way of what I want to manifest, but okay, this is a tool somehow, and I might not see how it's trying to shape me, how it's trying to help me grow, but this growth is going to lead in maybe a roundabout way, maybe a direct way to what I'm hoping and dreaming for. And then it's also like what we were talking about before, understanding this interconnectedness mm-hmm. has really helped me understand that what I'm trying to manifest is, if it's just for me, is it's so useless. There's nothing that I need personally that's going to make a good impact on on life in general. So when I'm trying to manifest something now, it's like, I want to manifest this for the good of all. And when I'm in alignment with that, which is not all the time, but when I am in alignment with that, it feels like the rest of the universe, the big me, is like, yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, I was thinking about a way. So I have a very active problem solver, project manager kind of mind, where I'm like a action person. It's kind of a hyper masculine way of, doing work and whatever thing. Very very mind focused way of behaving, and we really want to. One of the things that we wanted to manifest out of our hearts, and because we really love healing and retreat with people. We worked in a retreat center with ayahuasca in San Pedro, and we really wanted to continue doing that work with an integration component and as like the leaders of the retreat. And so, as you can imagine, like this is a really big dream for us and a big thing that we really wanted. And we started to, ask for that to come to us and say, we really want to do this work. We want to be in service in this way. We want to do these retreats and we want to do them now. And so we had an opportunity come to us, and, we found a venue, and we're planning this retreat, and we're trying to do it in a quick way because we want this to happen soon. Like, we want to make it a possibility soon. And then it was sort of like some red flags started going up, like the experience with the, management of the place that we were trying to book didn't feel great, like at all. But because we had this like really hard attachment to wanting it to happen in this way that we imagined, we kind of ignored those issues at first. And then, time went on.
Yeah, I'm gonna buckle down harder and just manifest even harder.
Yeah, we're like, well, this is like, obviously it's supposed to be like, this is what came up, so it must be this, and we kept kind of rationalizing like, well, we don't really feel good about, like, it doesn't feel good. And that's something to really pay attention to. Like, when you're manifesting, if it doesn't feel good, there's probably some reason why, and that you need to pay attention to. Like, your heart is trying to tell you something. So the way that our hearts told us something was through a visa problem that really we had planned this whole retreat, and then basically we found out that we could not do it at the time that we planned, and because of visa stuff. And so we were super devastated. We were like, well, maybe we're not supposed to do these retreats. Like, maybe we had to cancel the retreat. And it ended up, it was a really big disappointment that actually turned into being a huge gift, because we realized we were like putting so much pressure on this thing that we wanted to happen in this very specific way, that, the retreat had gotten to be very expensive because of all of this, and like kind of out of reach for people. And that is not that wasn't the intention behind wanting to do it in the first place. Like, we want it to be something that our friends can afford to do. And so I'm sharing this just because, like, what can happen with us with when we have a dream that we're following, when we have something that our heart wants, sometimes the mind is trying to help. The mind is always trying to help us. And the mind can really get attached to things in ways that make us ignore, like, the red flags of, okay, this happening this way is not the best thing for you. And luckily, because we have this relationship with the medicines, because we have this relationship with prayer, we were able to recognize, like, this is not good for us. This is not a good way to do this. And now, as we're, moving past that and continuing to say, like, we want to be in service and have retreats, now we're like, you know what? No more timelines. Like, we are just going to allow this to happen on a longer scale. And it's like, oh, that feels really good. Like, making shifts when something comes back to you that's like showing you, like, this is not doing it this way in this like hardcore I'm going to manifest this no matter what, no matter if it like destroys me. It's not worth it to manifest it like that. And so when you invite prayer into the process, you invite the more feminine, like connection with your heart, connection with, you're like listening to your body around it. And the biggest part is like trusting this benevolent guide that's like, I got you. Like, I'm taking care of you and I will take care of it. This is going to like what you need will happen. It's sort of like this giant, like, for me, it's so much better trying to like do business and do work in this area when I just relax and be like, God's got this. I love, I'm from the South, so like people are always going like, let go and let God. And I used to laugh at that. But I think that's really a powerful way to live because you are not carrying the responsibility to make everything happen yourself. That can really stress you out and cause like serious anxiety. For me, it's anxiety.
Yeah. So I love the way you're describing that. It's so true. It's like, it's a toxic form of masculinity to be like, this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to force it at all costs, and it's going to happen on my timeline. It's a very like egocentric Western, and like and
it's rewarded to behave that way too.
Yes, like, in our world it is
financially generally it's rewarded.
So, and I love what you said about letting go and letting God, and that being more of a feminine process, and we have all these beautiful examples all around us in every plant, every tree, everything that the earth produces. The earth always gets it done, and she always takes her time, and she's patient. And we can, so our part of that, right, is the manifesting. And we do everything we can, and then we do let go and let God, let nature, let the universe, however you want to say that, do its thing. And it's very much like growing something, planting a plant. It's like, you take the seed and you plant it, and maybe you have an intention, consciously or not, but your intention, even if it's subconsciously, is for this seed to grow into that plant. So you're putting it in the ground. There's nothing you can do now to force that to happen faster. You can give it the right soil and the right light and the right amount of water, and you can give it your love and attention, but at some point, you've done all you can do, and you have to let go and let the nature take its course. And it's the same with what we want to manifest. It's like, okay, we do all the work we can. We think our positive thoughts about it. We're like excited about it emotionally. We know in our hearts it's the right direction to move, and it's something that's for the good of everything. And we're like, yeah, we're on, and there's only so much you can do towards that. And at that point, it's like, okay, let's put this down. Let's take care of ourselves, and let's let Big Me, or God, or the universe, or...
I like Big Me.
Yeah, let's let that do the whole thing, the rest of it. And I was saying before, it's like what we are trying to call in is also trying to reach us. So really, we have to meet halfway. And for me, that's so like relieving. It's like, wow, I don't really have to like pick up all the pieces and carry this the whole way by myself. Like, I gotta make it halfway, and there's something on the other side that is like, that force is moving towards me with the same excitement and joy that I have to bring it into my life. It's like, I want to be in his life. And again, like we were talking about with beliefs, like, okay, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's not the way it is. But, well, first, my experience tells me a little different, that is the way it works. And even if it's not, that is so much more comforting and relieving and allows me to rest in a good vibration, which ultimately is going to attract whatever it is faster anyways. So, yeah, the prayer and the manifestation are the yin and the yang. They're the two sides of the coin. They're always working together to create. This is how we are creators, right? We're working in a partnership with divinity to create.
I think that is what people mean when they talk about being in flow. Of it's having that manifestation drive, the dream drive, and the support of your heart and the support of your, like, the care around yourself as you're going for that. Like, There's a concept, I can't remember, it's called like non-striving.
Mm.
Have you ever heard of this? It's something that I studied in my yoga teacher training, but it's like this quality of non-striving, of allowing, of even receiving without like trying to force things. And I'm sure there's like a much better technical definition that I'm not saying, but I love that idea of like letting things unfold. And it's exciting to be curious and surprised, you know? It's like when you can allow yourself to be curious and surprised and change your mind and be wrong about things, and life is much more enjoyable and juicy when you, if everything went according to how we envisioned it and how we planned, nothing really good would ever happen. Because honestly, I'll tell you, I am terrible at knowing how things should go for myself. Every time I think I have something figured out, the universe magically surprises me in a beautiful way, and it's so much better than I could have ever thought for myself. I was really selling myself short by my own manifestation ideas, because when it's delivered, it's like, holy shit, this is beautiful. This is so much better than something I could have picked for myself. So if we close ourselves off to only the ideas that we can come up with, it's like we're closing ourselves off to a lot of the magic and mystery and like excitement about being alive.
I liked what you were talking about meeting life as a mystery, full of like wonder and excitement, and this like, well, it's a mystery to see what it's going to be.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And they say that in the, Jesus says in the Bible at some point, and I don't know the exact quote, but something like, if you have like the eyes of or qualities of a child, you'll get to enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is what they're referring to, is this treating every experience as a new experience, to be unraveled without already making up our mind and making an agreement right when it comes in. There's this other beautiful parable that I heard through Alan Watts about the Chinese farmer.
Oh yeah.
So he's saying that, well, there's this farmer, him and his son work the field, and they have just a huge crop this year, and everyone in the town is like, wow, you have a great crop, like that's great. And the farmer's like, well, yeah, we'll see. And so the son is having to work really hard to harvest all the crops because there's so much extra, but he falls off his horse and breaks his leg. And they're like, oh, how terrible. And he's like, well, we'll see. And then the government's in some war, and they come looking for people to recruit, to force into fighting. And his son has a broken leg, so they pass him over. And the townspeople say, oh, that's so great. And the farmer says, well, we'll see. So it's this attitude of like, we don't really know what is going to be so good for us. Each little thing can be, we can think it's so awful in the moment, but in hindsight, we're like, oh my God, what a miracle.
That's how I feel about my addiction.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, when I was getting clean, so I got clean going to 12-step meetings. And when I was first going, I was like so shy. I was like, I wanted it, but like I was not integrating into the community or making friends or anything like that. It was like I would show up just a little late so I didn't have to talk to anyone. I would sit in the meeting, and then as soon as that meeting was done, I'm like, boogie to the car, get out of here. I don't want to open up or be vulnerable or whatever. And because of my addiction, my license got revoked, which naturally to me was like, well, this is a horrible thing. Clearly, I need my license to go to work and et cetera, et cetera. This is awful. I know how this is. This is bad. And looking back on it, it ended up being an absolute miracle, because without this license, I could catch the bus to the meeting, but I needed to catch a ride home, and I had to make friends, and I made friends, and because of making friends, I got clean. So for me, it was a very clear example of like, man, I don't really know exactly what's best for me all the time. So like turning some of that over to this bigger me is like, okay, well this force clearly does. It's been demonstrated to me over and over and over. Things that I thought were a tragedy were actually a huge blessing. So like, let me trust that that's going to continue. And let me just work on seeing everything as a blessing. And that's what I'll pray for. Please help me see it as a blessing, please. Because it is, and it's just a matter of time until I see it clearly.
How is this exactly what I need right now?
Exactly.
So...
That's my next tattoo, by the way.
It's a good one. I would totally... We could get matching ones
nice.
if you want. So the moral of this story is chill the fuck out. And stop worrying so much, and bring some prayer and some... A prayer is a conversation between you and everything. And you are everything, so you're really just talking to yourself. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be scary, and it absolutely belongs to you. So, and the manifestation part, it's a lot easier when you just chill the fuck out, honestly. Coming from your neighborhood type A high-strung personality, I like myself better when I'm chill. So thanks so much for joining us on the Psychedelic Integration Podcast, Manifestation and Prayer. We have some really exciting news actually today to share. Today is the very first day of Psychedelic Integration Academy course. Our course started today. We're so jazzed about this. And it's evergreen. It's open all the time. And you can enroll anytime on our website, mysticalheartcollective.com.
It is a perfect example of what we've just been talking about. We set out with an intention to manifest being of service and helping people prepare for and integrate their psychedelic experience. And we have gone through so many iterations. And as we've learned to go with the flow, this beautiful 12-week course, which does a bunch of preparation, it goes over tools, how to navigate the medicine experience, and 8 weeks of integration afterwards has been the fruit of all of this prayer and hard work on our end. So, yeah, it's been this course is a beautiful partnership between our wishes and Big Us's wishes for how we can help.
And we've been able to hopefully make it super accessible and affordable, and you can do it. It's self-paced, and we're super proud of it and excited to share it. We want to help as many people as possible find the tools and learn how to heal with psychedelics yourself from your own home or wherever. So we also touched briefly about, we had shared with you in some previous episodes, we had a retreat. The retreat is postponed. We don't know when we're going to have a retreat. We will have one, and we don't know when. And if you're interested, you should email us and let us know that you're interested so we can figure out when we're going to have this.
We can let you know about the details.
Yeah, you can join our mailing list. All of this is available at mysticalheartcollective.com. And thank you so much for listening and supporting to our podcast. And we'll see you next time. Don't know when that's going to be. Sometime soon.
Be good to yourself, family.
Bye-bye.
Bye.